observations on the theme of this year's course are very poignant and relevant to our current discourse in the nation. Highlighting the paralyzing effect of fear, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in his inaugural address on March 4, 1933, said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." I know Africa and Nigeria are going through some very turbulent times, especially in the security arena and in the economic front. And AI presents a vista of opportunities for us to address issues on agriculture, on healthcare, on financial inclusion, and on security issues. I'm an eternal optimist. I believe most of these things are doable. Africa is the youngest continent. The average age of the Nigerian nation is 16.9. And we have a pool of technologically savvy young men that we can harness.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. We're joined by Mr. Olatubosun Abolarin, our security consultant. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, the VP clearly advocating a technology-driven strategy towards combating terrorism, cybercrime, and a lot of some of these challenges we face here. He also tried to extrapolate Africa larger, but let's start locally first and foremost. This call of his, how do you situate it in the first place?
Well, it's an overdue call, and it's a call that has already been answering itself even without us adopting it. So the technology is already out there, and it's already being adopted even at a very lower cadre rate in solving crimes. It is just a matter of political will for us to now take it on board like the rest of the world are doing. For instance, he mentioned some key areas. The key areas are youth development. We have these millions of youths that are not employed that can be brought into security arena. We have technologies that is already being downloaded, being used. For instance, now, hardly is there any crime that is being solved in Nigeria without the adoption of one form of technology or the other. I'm not talking about AI because we're going far out of it. I'm not sure whether we can afford that now or what that can do for us. But our porous borders, our cyber crimes are already haunting us using technology.
So, okay.
And we need to counter that with that kind of approach.
So part of what I was also asking is, for instance, yes, you know how they say you can't place something on nothing. We, as a country, as a government, needs to provide that technology infrastructure upon which several of these other things can function. I know we've talked about several databases, name, and all of those things. So that's supposed to be a basis. For instance, if you go to the police force, can we confidently say we can leverage on technology because they do have the technological base to carry out whatever activity you want there?
No. If you single out police force, and I think I must make bold to say that you are right in saying at the beginning that government needs to make that available. Currently, I did say that I'm very close to the police and I solve a lot of crime through them. And I see how they struggle, even sometimes to get enough data to carry out one form of tracking or the other. And these are things that it's supposed not to have a price tag if we really want them to work. And I'll give you analysis of what is happening. Based on what the police have available at the moment, if a case comes from the zonal level from any state to Abuja now, it takes officers from IGP monitoring in Abuja to still travel to any other part of Nigeria to carry out physical investigation. That is because there is no technology that can replace that. We're talking about policy too, and model operandi of how they carry out their operations. So the police don't really have that at the moment. They have the section, the information and communication technology. But if you have the opportunity of going through their budget, the budget for that unit for 2024, I think it speaks for itself on what is obtainable or achievable with that type of money. But what I really want to advocate in support of the Vice President and to welcome his call for technology is that I really think that it should be really left to the police. I think we need to give the Ministry for Information and Technology a kind of knock on the door to really ask them what are their plans. You understand? It doesn't have to be centered on the army, the police, no. If we really want to do this and we want to be in line and in tune with the rest of the world and get something tangible at the end of it, then we really need to look at this ministry. If there is something we need to impute, if there is something we need to rejig, so that the police, the army, the DSS, the Navy, the Air Force knows that, okay, there is somewhere we can fall out. And I will give you a very good example. When Bin Laden was going to be executed, the technology base that the US has was so good that in the Oval Room of the White House, the president and his cabinet were able to watch the operation. Do we have that in Nigeria? Have we made an attempt to have that in Nigeria? Yes, we have. Is that working at the moment? During the MD,
we have what? We made attempt?
We made attempts. If you look at during the era of the MD Abubakar as the Inspector General of Police and the contract given to ZTE, the IG was almost able to see every airport lounge in Nigeria from his desk. That technology was put in place. Are we able to sustain it, or Nigeria has already happened to that? Those are the areas where we really need to look out, check where we've gotten it wrong, and try to make our way back. The Ministry of Technology really needs to be revamped, if you ask me.
I mean, I want to go back to that Ministry of Information and Technology. But before we do that, just your thoughts on what the spokesperson of the Nigerian police said. Mr. Muniwa Dijobi had said recently that they would start to wear cameras, body cams on the police. If the vice president is asking for technology in solving crime, is that something that could help?
It could help to solve some part of the problem. For instance, now, if we have a technology that is able to record how police operations are going, whether they are where they are supposed to be at the right time, what happened to the issue of bribery, extortion, and corruption, yes, that can help. Another thing is that I think we really need to try and become a think tank when we come out to speak about these kind of things. I think the body cam thing is only solving an internal and inherent problem that the force have. But let us look
our own force.
The force, yeah.
Police force.
Police force.
What problem is there?
They have problem in effective monitoring of their men on the street. The essence of body cam is, one, to monitor what your men are doing, whether they are doing it right. Secondly, when allegation comes against them, you have something to leverage on to check exactly what actually happened. That is, if it's using. I think the road safety and the VIO are trying to use it now. Can we check to see how far that has helped them? Is that the direction we need to go? It's a welcome development if we can see them wearing it. But what the Vice President is saying is actually far, far bigger and wider than that. We need a good technological base.
I want to be able to talk about the people that actually came to see him when he made that statement. It was the members of the Executive Intelligence Management Course 17 of an institute that's very crucial, the National Institute for Security Studies. Talk to us a little bit about this institute. What do they do? Is it time for them to incorporate AI knowledge in some of the courses that they are taking? What are they teaching these people in these executive courses? Because at least from a layman's perspective, it does seem like an institute where people that are about to be promoted, that is where they now send them, they attend some courses, you come out, you promote them, and then that's it. These institutes, what can they be doing to help with what the vice president is saying?
I think I like the last question. I wouldn't want to delve too much into what are they doing, but let us talk about what can they be doing. They've had it from the horse's mouth. I really don't know. I wouldn't say I'm able to say specifically what they have been doing, but on what they could be doing, they could bring in technology. Then we should stop looking at them as a place where you go in order to get promotion. They should become an institute that help you to do your work better. They should get rid of some of their modules and bring in new modules that is actually going to help people that are actually working or that want to work to do their work better. So I want them to focus more on the youths, on the young people who have just joined services across board. New recruit of police officers, army, National Intelligence Agency, DSS. These are the people that they are supposed to be focusing on. Not somebody who just want to attend the course, write notes, and use it to apply to the Civil Service Commission for promotion to say, I've been here. In Nigeria, when you introduce yourself, you see a lot of acronym under your name. MNI, MSS, DSS, TTC, that. You see, we need to get away of that era where you only hang things. We need to get back to where we actually say, this rank you gathered, what have you been able to do with it or achieve with it? So that's why I'm happy when he mentioned the millions of youths that really need. If you don't want to pick up youths to employ outside as fresh, there are youths that are already in services that can be put to use rather than using them to be carrying files and writing memos up and down. And it doesn't have to be security sectors only. It should be security reform in terms of technology should go across board because everybody is a strategic stakeholder when it comes to security of lives and property.
You know, there are several questions about us adopting security technology for security across board as well. Because, I mean, you remember the heights, Boko Haram, for instance, and then you always see images of convoys and people who kept on wandering. We had NICOMSAT, whatever that was for, who knows. We had several international countries, I mean, who said they wanted to assist us. And they were very basic questions. Couldn't we leverage on satellite to find out where are these cars coming through? What brand are those cars? Who supplies all of those things? They are very basic things. So when we hear these kind of things, we really do ask ourselves, are we really ready for this? Or are we just paying lip service to wanting to adopt technology to move things forward?
Until very recently, I will agree with you on the fact that we've paid too much of lip services to this. And I was shocked one day, you know, I was based in the UK before, and I have a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado that I'm driving in Nigeria. So I took advantage of one of my visits to the UK to buy some parts. And the shop owner just told me that just give me your chassis number and I will know the right part for you. Only for him to give me the address where the car was registered in Nigeria. He mentioned my name and gave me the address. So the people who made Toyota has made it so well that the moment the Toyota is registered anywhere, they have a technology that takes the details of the owner to them. I've asked this question before when I look at weapons that have a license number, serial number, communication gadget that have serial number that can be traced. Every vehicle that have chassis number that can be traced to where do they actually come from, who bought them and registered them for the first time. The problem is that we've not been doing enough as a country to leverage on strategic intelligence way, model operandi of how we do things. I think we do it when we want to do it. So if I need to track you now because you said something on TV that the government is not happy about, they will track you to your nearest location and pick you up. So we need to stop paying lip services to this kind of thing and let us start leveraging on these things. So far, so good, they've not done it. We see a lot of burnt e-locks during and after the operation. Where is our forensic base? The weapon recovered has an L number.
Do you have real forensic basis, forensic investigation and departments in this country?
Labs, things
do we have?
We do. But most of them are private. The government one, we say, are not very, very equipped or funded to be
as government things usually are most times.
Yeah, most times. So I think one of the things that the Vice President of the federal government should do is to start looking inward and start looking at all these assets and bring them back to life. Let there be forensic platforms.
This body cam matter.
Yeah.
Is the police putting the cart before the horse?
I wouldn't say so. There are problems that has been created that these body cams needs to be solved. So if I ask you, police is your friend, but can you trust an average police officer when you are driving on the road? No. The first headquarters Tutu knew that there are questionable characters and bad eggs wearing uniforms.
Many.
The complaint response unit of the Nigerian police received some complaints that they need to go back and think that who have we put in uniform? So in order to solve this, if there is a way in all those remote areas between Guri Junction and Lokoja, between Obajano and Ekiti, where signals are even a problem, if police officers can be made to wear the body cam, use the body cam, and if there is somebody who actually analyzes the body cam to see if something can be picked in order for effective monitoring, then I think it is effective.
I don't think it should be a problem, even where those remote areas. I mean, this is 2024. There are satellite phones, satellite technology, which you can easily. There should be no more blind spots. It's all over the world. I mean, we shouldn't be playing as if we're in the jungle. But that's why I ask, politicians themselves are the ones that need to look themselves in the mirror, because even if you introduce these body cams and they keep pushing their cronies into security agencies, who then get there and become larger than life because they came through their godfathers, and then you can't touch them, they will not comply with some of these rules and laws. So to what extent can they succeed, even if they do their best?
It is a matter of readiness, you understand, and sincerity of purpose. Anything we want to do that we are paying lip service to is going to end up in shambles. I can give you a few examples of things like that have started. But I think you are right in mentioning that politician needs to look inward. But don't forget that the issue of body cam is physical and directed to face and deal with certain immediate problem that is affecting life and property.
Yeah,
and if a police officer knows that there is going to be accountability as a result of his action, so that's I'm not the only one seeing what I'm doing. There is tendency of somebody being able to witness. We saw in the National Assembly that come on microphone. We had them shouting, off the mic, when they don't want us to hear certain things on camera. So before, there is impunity. They say whatever they like.
I think the one of the things that, one of the conversations that came up about these cameras is the compelling of the police officers to wear it. You can't, it's now, at least I know abroad, it's punishable not to wear it.
Yeah.
So you always have to have it on, and the accountability mechanism of it is actually pretty important. But I want to be able to, because time is fast spent, I want to be able to talk a little bit. You can address it when you're answering my question.
All right.
I want you to be able to talk about the new terrorist organization that, well, we've heard people say it's not necessarily new. They've been there for a while. We're dealing with a crisis right now that really can be replicated, and it's one that's caused a lot of issues. We've been having conversation about whether the media should be talking about them in the first place, because what they actually need is this media attention. But at the same time, the dangers that they pose to us as a people has to also be reported. When it comes to the use of AI and advanced technology in handling this situation that has really lasted longer than anyone ever expected it to, in what ways can that be addressed?
There will always be new security threat group every time. There will be name changing, brand changing. There will be issues that will not be resolved peacefully, and it will lead to the issue of terrorism. It's all now down to government. Somehow, it bothers our brain to know whether the press should talk about it or not, or whether we need to have press blackout or have something, have limits. But we cannot gag the press again. The moment it happens, it becomes a news. And once it is a news, it must come out. People also need to be aware that those threats are out there. And the use of advanced technology to take care of all those problems is exactly the cry of the number 2 person in the country now, that we should stop. For instance, now, there's one policy about fighting any type of crime, be it terrorism, be it cyber fraud, be it robbery. How do we remove the anonymity of the perpetrator? First thing, who is doing what? And that should come out. You don't just say a group of people came out in Sokoto, and Sokoto, every local government in Sokoto have their own assembly. The state have an assembly. There's commissioner of police, there's director of DSS. How long is it going to take them to unravel and say, this is the leader of the group, he was born in Damaturu, he was raised in Lagos, he grew up in Ipaja, he went to this primary school. Remove the anonymity and let the world see it. If the government cannot do that, if the security agency cannot do that, I'm bringing it back to your court as an investigative journalism. Let us find out who is doing what. You see,
as long as you don't black them out.
So that's where the press power really needs to be given to them. Who knew that the leader of the bandit can post and take a picture with the state governor and the general in charge of security that and be bold enough to publish it? Those are some of our problems that got us to where we are, and nobody paid for that. The general that was in that picture was never sanctioned or queried. The terrorist in that picture went back to commit more terrorist acts against the state and the people of the state. And I think the governor too got re-elected. And a lot of people died. And those are some strategic areas where government needs to take account, take responsibility, fiscal responsibility for their action.
Which makes the point. You can't put something on nothing. You can't introduce technology and not have those punitive measures, and not have the law take its course. So yes, if you have to put technology in place, you have to be sure that the law must take its course. Because in those crimes where they have all of these things, so I imagine that the police here would have gone through all of that. Because there, you could see some of the devices too. Right? Some don't put it on when they should. They put it on much later. And several processes. Yeah. And then, for instance, now, when I did say, ask if you were putting the cart before the horse, can the police at the moment, across the country, do you think, I mean, since you do a lot there, can we confidently track every bullet that is given to every officer who's out there and how they use them?
To be honest with you, I saw the analog aspect of that happening every day at every police station. So a DPO is sitting down and calling the armorer and some officers, and I've seen bullets being counted into bowl. That's the analog and the archaic way of doing it. It is very, very possible, and we don't need more than the room of this studio and people.
No, do we do that right now? That's what I'm asking.
I've seen in the last 5, 6, 8 years, I spoke to a general who gave me an impression that that was about to be done. Another thing is the issue of responsibility. The police don't get their bullet directly. I think Army get it or the NSA get it an issue. But the issue of tracking accountability, knowing that a bullet carrying certain reference number or a particular of a bullet is given to the police, this is given for us to do, I don't think we're doing well with that.
Because if we were, there are several scenarios where you see some of them, the way they just utilize those as if nobody cares, nobody's going to hold me accountable to how I use my ammo. And then, even when it comes to quote-unquote accidental discharge, as it were, you get to hear narratives much later that no, it wasn't the police that shot them, it wasn't police bullet that shot them. And you ask yourself, wait a minute, they're supposed to be basic.
Yeah. Those are the strategic things that needs to be put in place, and that's why I want to agree a little bit with you that we may be putting the cart before the horse. Do you understand? These are things that they really need to look at. These are things that you really need to call the NSA and call the spokesperson of the Nigerian police and DSS to really speak. And if they are not doing it, then they should start doing it. People, we should move away from analog. You cannot use analog-minded people to take care of digital generations. I mean, recently, the way the children of nowadays play with phone and what they can achieve with phones put me on my toe at times. When I
you know why they will not want to do that?
Why?
These are people who do election jobs for them. If you take those ones out and put the young people, they'll lose.
Well, so that they like it.
Food for thought.
It's something we may have to do in a matter of time.
Be careful what you ask for. But there's something that needs to be done eventually.
It is.
Because we can't be living in the past, as it were. The world has moved on.
And we need to move in line and in alignment with the world.
So maybe we need to see the Vice President and the President put their money where their mouth is. Because we expect that if the VP is speaking about something, the presidency should agree with it.
Yes.
I mean, or he may have agreed with it.
Yeah.
For him to have suggested any of those things.
Yeah. And it shouldn't only end at selection, suggestion, or when visitors come. We are appealing to the VP, talk to your senators and all the senators. Is it possible for any senator to sponsor a bill that is going to back the usage of this Bodycam?
Even the presidency can sponsor the bill. It can be an executive bill.
So before we just buy it as a device that somebody will be using to take a selfie and become something for social media, please, let us put
or arrest political opponents
and see how this can actually help the over 200 million people we are elected to serve.
So good idea, Mr. VP. We hope that we'll just follow up on that one and see that it works. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks very much for having me.
All right, that wraps it up today on the program. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
Have a great day ahead. I'm Kayla Magwa.